Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and thank you very much for your support and for your comments, and it's very much appreciated and keeps me motivated to carry on, and thank you for that. In today's tutorial I just want to share with you how I've knitted this pair of dungarees. They are for size 3 to 6 months, and I have decided to go for a cable pattern here, which is going to be on the side of the legs. So it's got on each side, and a cable pattern front panel. And just to make it more interesting, and I think it makes it cute, I decided to go for 2 pom-poms instead of usual buttons. The construction of this one, it's basically flat. So I've knitted flat, I've knitted 2 legs, so one at a time, and then they are joined together here in the middle with few increases, and then I've worked the entire piece back and forward and it's sewn here together. Then I separated the stitches and I've worked the back panel separate and the front panel separate, and of course the 2 straps. So even if you're not familiar with knitting in the round or anything like that, you can still complete this project with no issues, because it's basically knitted flat. If you prefer not to have to sewn up at the end, then you can work in the round as well. I'm just gonna give some measurements. So I've used the chart, the standard chart, and it's made basically for 3 to 6 months. So I'm just going to measure from the end of the panel all the way here, the end of the leg, because of course it's 48 centimeters. I hope you can see on the camera, and that makes up the 19 inches as well. Of course the straps are adjustable, so depending if you have the baby's measurements, of course you can adjust them, or also depending if you're gonna pick some buttons, or you're gonna decide to do pom-poms like I did, you can adjust the position of it, because you have the buttonhole here on the actual panel, so gives some flexibility for the pom-poms or button measurements. So then the strap can be adjusted and be made longer or shorter. And also as the baby grows, you might as well change it again, so make it fit for a little bit longer. And this is it. Oh, I'm just going to measure the width of it. So just before this ribbing area, my project has about 25 to 26 centimeters. Of course it's quite stretchy because it's just garter stitch, so it's a very relaxed knit. And in inches, that will be about 10.5 inches in width. So this part here, from where I've joined the legs until I started the front panel, it's about 8.5 inches, but I'm gonna give all these measurements as we work through. And if you want in centimeters, that's about 19.5 centimeters, and all the way until the end of the front panel, that's 10.5 inches, and that works out about 27 centimeters. I'm just gonna share with you a mistake that I made, and it's nothing to do with the actual knitting project, but after I finished knitted, I washed it, and I didn't have the patience to wait for it to dry flat like I should have, and I have used a delicate cycle in the tumble dryer, which made my yarn to felt a little bit, and of course my pom-poms too. So this is how a pom-pom looked like before, and this is how it looks like now. Because it's mostly acrylic, I thought it will be okay, but I will advise you to dry it flat once you finish knitting, and also depends on the yarn that you're gonna choose. I have used about 150 grams of this one. This is a baby yarn that has acrylic and polyamide, I believe, and it's very soft. And here I have a chunky yarn, the same composition, but it's in a chunky version that I've used for the two pom-poms. And that's all you're gonna need basically, and of course just a needle at the end to sew the project here between the legs, and on the back to join here on the middle. And this is it pretty much. I hope you're gonna enjoy the tutorial. I've tried to explain every single stage and every step that I made. You're gonna have to bear with me, I'm afraid, because this is the first larger project that I have actually recorded, so I was a little bit nervous, and I'm still a little bit nervous, but I really hope you're gonna like it and you're gonna give this a go. And please let me know how it went, or if you have any problems or any questions, leave me a comment or send me an email. I'll be quite happy to help. This is it, I believe. I really hope you're gonna enjoy the tutorial, and don't forget to like my videos and subscribe if you will wish to see more. Thank you very much and enjoy the tutorial. For this project I am using this baby yarn, which is a mix of acrylic and polyamide, I believe. It's very soft and it's very nice to knit with. So I'll be using this one, knitting needles of course. I have here a pair of circulars, but the entire project will be worked flat. I just prefer to use circular. They are size 3.5, and I will cast on using a crochet. I have 3.5 millimeters crochet here, same size as my needles, and I will begin by casting on using my crochet. Cast on 40 stitches. I'm not going to leave a longer tail, as the entire project will be sewn up at the end. So using my crochet, I'll cast on, oops, I've just done my slip stitch. I'll cast on 40 stitches on my needles. So I just form a loop and grab my yarn, and then I'm just doing slip stitches around my needle. It's, in my opinion, is the most easiest way to cast on stitches, and it gives a very even edge to the work. But you can use any method you prefer to cast on. We just need to cast on 40 stitches to begin the project. Project begins with the legs, so it's worked bottom up. I'll just continue casting on like this until I have 40 stitches on my needle. I have casted on my 40 stitches, and next is going to be row number 1, which I'm going to consider a wrong size row. And all I'm going to do, I'm not going to start any pattern just yet. I'm just going to purl all the stitches to form like a base for the pattern on the right side. So row number 1, wrong side row, just purl all the stitches for the entire row. So simply going to purl all 40 of them. Completed the initial row. Next is row number 2, and this is a right side row. I'm going to slip my first stitch, and I will introduce the rib pattern. So I'm going to start by purling 1. So purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1. I'm just doing the simple ribbing. Purl 1, so it's not double or anything, it's just 1 1 purl, 1 knitted, I will continue like this, and I will be finishing with knit 2. End of my row. I have 3 stitches left. I'm going to purl 1 and then knit 1 to complete the pattern and knit my last stitch. So I will be ending with knit 2. Next row, row number 3, wrong side of the work. Again, I'm just continuing with the rib pattern. So for the rib pattern, I'm just going to purl all the purls and knit all the knitted stitches. So next one is a purl, I'm going to purl. Next one is a knit, I'm going to knit, purl, knit, again a purl, continue with the knit, and I will be doing like this all the way till I finish my row. My row is going to end again with knit 2. I have reached the end of the row, row number 3 this is, and I'm going to finish my row with knit 2. Turn around, and I will continue to work. We can see already the rib stitch started to form. I don't know if you can see, probably. So we have 2 rows of rib stitch already, plus the initial row. I'm going to continue by doing rib stitch for another 6 rows. So I'm going to have in total 9 rows of work. So 8 rows of rib plus the initial one. So continue for 6 more rows doing the rib stitch, and you should be ending on a wrong side with the wrong side row. I have completed my rows in rib stitch. So we have a total of 8 rib stitch rows plus the initial row, which makes it up to 9 rows. Next is row number 10, and it's a right side row. So for row number 10, we will introduce, or I will introduce, so on the right side, I will introduce the main pattern. The main pattern is very easy because it's garter stitch. So it's only garter stitch left and right with the cable, 6 stitches cable running through the middle, just to make it a bit more interesting. So for this, I'm just going to knit all the stitches. So slip the first one, as I always do, and then knit all the stitches. The reason I'm knitting all of them is because here in the middle I will have a 6 stitches cable, but those cables, the stitches for the cables, are knitted on the front of the work, so on the right side of the work. So they're included with the rest of them, because garter stitch is just knit all the stitches on each row. So it's a very, very easy pattern. So I'm going to continue by knitting all the stitches, including the last one. I have completed my row of knitted stitches. Next is row number 11, and it's on the wrong side of the work. Well, here is going to be a little change, because on the wrong side, the stitches we have for cables have to be worked as purls. So in order to do that, now I'm just going to explain a little bit how to fit the cable to make sure it's perfectly in the middle. So I have started with 40 stitches because later on we're going to have some increases to give some shaping to the leg. I started with 40 stitches. I need to place 6 stitches right in the middle of the work to make sure the cable runs exactly through the middle. So the cable is 6 stitches, 40 minus 6, that will be 34. 34 times 2, that will be 17. So I need to work 17 stitches on this side, then leave 6 in the middle for my cable, and then 17 over the other side. So in this case, I'm going to slip the first stitch, so that makes it 1 stitch, and then I'm going to knit 16. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, continue to the 16, and we are knitting them so we can form the garter stitch. I forgot how many I've done. Let's have a count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I need 17 altogether, including the one I slipped. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. One more. If it makes it easier for you, especially at the beginning, you can place some markers. I'm just going to place some for demonstration. I don't really, but if you don't want to be counting all the time, especially once we started with the increases, this number of stitches will constantly change. So I place the marker before my cable. Now my cable has 6 stitches running exactly through the middle, so I'm going to purl 6 stitches. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That would be my cable right through the middle of the work. I'm going to place another marker. It makes it easier to see, especially at the beginning of the pattern. And then we have to knit the remaining 17 stitches for symmetry. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. So knit the remaining 17 stitches until you reach the end of the row. This was basically our second row of pattern, because we started on the front, on the right side, and this is the wrong side. And I'll continue until I finish. I have completed my row. Next is row number 12, and it's on the right side of the work. So all the even numbers of rows are on the right side of the work. On this row, which is technically the third row of our pattern, you can see that the cable is starting to form already. It's not very visible at the moment, but it's starting to form. So for row number 12, I'm going to make the first twist of the cable. So slip the first one. I'm going to knit all my 16 stitches until I reach the marker. So just knit all the stitches for the garter stitch as usual. Once we start doing few cable twists, how I call them, the pattern will become more visible. I like to make the first twist after 3 rows. So technically this is the third row, so I'm going to do it here, and then on every 6th row. I'm going to remove this one. Keep it because it makes it more visible. For the cable twisting, you can use an auxiliary needle, so another needle if it makes it easier, and transfer 3 stitches, because this is a 6 stitches cable. I'm just going to transfer the first 3 on my separate needle, and then I'm going to keep them in front of my work, and I will continue. I'm just going to remove this one for now because it's just in my way. So keep the 3 stitches in front of the work, continue by knitting the next 3. Makes it a little bit difficult, so just knit the 3 on your needle, the left needle. There we go. And then once these are completed, you can knit the 3 that we kept in the front of the work. Gonna remove the stitch markers for now. This is the same size needle, so I can knit them directly from my double pointed needle. So I'm just going to knit them. This is my third one, and this is my cable twist. There we go. We got 6 stitches and we twisted them around. 2, 4, 6. I'm gonna place my marker back on for the next few rows just to make it more visible where the cable is. Go. 2, 4, 6. It can be quite helpful on the, especially on the wrong side of the work, when we have to be careful to purl these 6 stitches, because everything else is knitted, but these 6 in the middle are going to have to be purled. Continue to knit all the stitches until the end of the row as usual garter stitch. So just knit the remaining 17. We still got 17. Completed my row. Next is row number 13, a wrong side row. Once again, slip the first one, knit all the stitches until I reach the marker. I'm just gonna knit them all for the garter stitch, and once the marker is reached, we have to purl 6 stitches for the cable. Make sure we have the cable properly running through the middle of this work. So knit all of them. I always slip the first one just so I can have an even edge forming. Nearly reach my marker here. Move the marker across and then purl the 6 stitches of the cable. Purl 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Transfer the marker. Oops, it's falling off. There we go. And knit the remaining stitches until the end of the row. Completed the previous row. Next, row number 14. No, row not 14. It's a right side row, and we're just gonna knit all the stitches. So slip the first one and then knit all of them, including the ones between the markers, because the cable has knitted stitches on the front and purled on the back. The cable is basically stockinette stitch, and the left and right it's garter stitch. So the only thing we need to be careful is on the wrong side when these stitches need to be purled. Other than that, it's all knitted stitches. So on the right side from now on, we're just going to knit all of them. The only exception is when we have to twist the cable, and the cable twist is happening every 6th row. So we done one on row number 12, next one will be on row number 18. Until then, we just knit normally all the stitches. Let me place my marker. I'm keeping these markers just for demonstration. I will usually remove them because I count stitches anyway. But if you prefer not to count the stitches, you can just keep the markers in place and make things more easier, I believe. I'm just gonna complete my row. In front of the camera, I only have a few stitches left. There we go, knit my last stitch. And this was row number 14 completed. The pattern is starting to take a little bit of shape, and will shape up even more once we start with the increases. Next is row number 15. Slip the first stitch, slip the first stitch, knit all the stitches until you reach the marker, purl the stitches between the markers, and then knit the remaining ones, and I'll meet you on the other side, on the right side. Row 15 completed. I am on the right side now. Next is row number 16. Slip the first one and then knit all the stitches. When you get to the markers, just move the markers across, knit the stitches between the markers, slip the marker and continue knitting. So just knit all the stitches. Slip the first one, knit all of them. My row completed. Next, row number 17, wrong side of the work. Slip the first stitch, knit until you reach the marker, purl the 6 stitches between the markers, and then continue to knit. So very easy, very straightforward. I think I'll remove the markers at some point as well. So knit to the markers, slip the marker off, purl the 6, knit all of them. Row completed. Next is row number 18. On row number 18, if you remember, we had a cable twist on row number 12, and I said the next twist is going to be on row number 18 because we are doing one cable twist on every 6th row. But starting with this one, with row number 18, I'm going to start making some increases because I have to give a shape to this little leg. So for that reason I need to start doing some decreases, and decreases will be done on every row where we have a cable twist. So I'm going to work like this. Slip the first one, and now I'm just going to pick this strand, which is quite loose as well, picking up this one, placing it on my left needle. So I'm going to twist it, just there we go, twist it, place it back on the needle, and I'm going to knit this newly formed stitch. Knit, and then normally knit the other ones. So when we started, we had 17 stitches on both sides of the cable. After this row, we're going to have 18 stitches on each side of the cable, because we're just doing increases, or just added one. So now I have a total of 18 stitches. If you don't like the make one way of increasing, you can do yarn overs, as long as you are careful on the wrong side. You need them twisted, because otherwise you will be having holes in your work. And I have reached the markers. I'm gonna remove the marker now. Previously, on the first twist, I have showed you how to do the cable twist using a separate needle. Yeah, double pointed. Also, you can use one of these if you have one. This is a special needle for cables, but one of these is perfectly fine. Don't have to worry if you don't have that one special one. I have removed the marker because it's a little bit in my way. I'm going to show you how I do the cable twisting. So I'm going to slowly release those 6 stitches from my needle, slowly, making sure I'm not dropping any. And I'm going to drop this one, it's in my way. So I got the 6 stitches from my cable, they are free. I'm going to pick up these 3 through the front of the work, and then I'm going to pick up these 3 through the back of the work, and I have 3 here in the front. I'm going to try to get closer to the camera. So I got 3 in the front and 3 in the back. So I picked these up first to keep them in front of the work, and now I have the others. I'm just gonna swap them around so it ends up like this. Place them back on my left hand needle, and now I'm just going to knit them in their new order, just changing them around. This is how my mom showed me to do cables, and I think is the easiest way. rather than using a separate needle. And just knitted all of them. Knitted all 6 of them. It's a little bit tight at the moment, but it's still visible. It's there. If you want, you can place the markers back on now. You can keep only one, because when I'm on the wrong side, I just need to know when my first purl starts. Now I'm just gonna knit all the stitches until I reach my last one. Got to my last stitch, and before I knit this one, I'm gonna make one. I'm going to make another one because we're gonna do symmetrical increases, left and right side, or beginning and end of the work. So I just picked up, I'll do it all again. I have here this strand hiding in here. I just pick this one up, place it on my left hand needles, and then I like to give it a twist before I work it because it will improve the tension of the actual stitch. And then just knit this newly formed stitch and knit my last stitch of the row. And that was it. This was our first increase. On the wrong side, that will be the next row, row number 19. We're gonna work as usual, knit all the stitches until you reach the marker. Just be aware, because now you're gonna slip one and then knit 17, purl these 6, the 6 for the cable, and then knit the remaining ones. Coming back on the front, you're just gonna knit all the stitches. Every sixth row there is going to be a cable twist as well as an increase. So in total I have planned 10 increases. So we started with 40 stitches, and we're gonna work the same pattern and increasing every 6th row. We increase by 2, so in total gonna be 10 decreases, and we're gonna have 60 stitches by the end of this shaping. So the next increase and the next cable twist, it's going to be on row number 24, 18 plus 6, row number 24, row number 30, row number 36, 42, 48, 54, 60, 66, and 72. And on row number 72, we'll have the last increase and a total of 60 stitches. I have here the previous, because I'm working on my second leg here, and I have here the first one. So I just want to show you the shaping of it. As you can see, it's just starting with this space, and then it slowly gets bigger as I work. So we have here, we just made our first increase, because for the first twist we didn't do any increases, because garter stitch is quite a loose stitch, so we didn't have to do any increases, because the work gives in anyway after the ribbing pattern going forward to the garter stitch. But so for this one we didn't do any, and here for this one we just made an increase, and now we're gonna work our way up, and every 6th row, as you can see here, we have a cable twist plus increases left and right. Then we continue, work 5 rows, and then on row number 6 again we make an increase and we have a cable twist too. And we just continue like this until we have 60 stitches on the needles. So altogether there will be 10 increases. We already made one together. Now I'm gonna leave it to continue and do the 9 remaining increases until we get to this shape. I have worked almost all my increases. I have done another 8 on top of the one we did together. So I am now on row number 72, and this is going to be my last increase, and I'll do a cable twist as well. So I thought I'll get back to you so we do the last increase together. Slip the first one, pick up the strand as I previously did, place it back on the needle, twisting it around. There we go. I'll twist it around just so I can get a better tension and not a very loose stitch, and then I have formed a new stitch which I'm just going to knit. I'll continue to knit until I reach my cable, because this is a cable twist row as usual for the other ones. So knit until I reach the cable. I have reached the cable. Next I'm going to do the cable twist. So I'm just going to slowly release my 6 stitches, pick up the 3 which I'm going to keep in the front, pick up the 3 stitches from the back. Yep, I'm just going to place them back on my left hand side needle, and then I'm just going to knit them in this new order: 3, 4, 5 and 6, and then I'll continue to knit until I reach my last stitch on the needles, and before I work this one I will make another increase. End of the row, before my last stitch, time for another increase. I'll pick up this strand here, place it on my left needle, twist it around, and I'm going to work it as a knit stitch and then knit my last stitch. At this point our work has 60 stitches, so we have 27 stitches on this side, 6 stitches for the cable here in the middle, and 27 on the other side. So 27 plus 27, 54, plus the 6 in the middle, we got 60 stitches. Next row is row number 73. It's a wrong side row, and we're just gonna work it as usual. Just slip the first stitch, knit the remaining 26, then purl the cable and knit the 27 stitches on the other side of the cable. So I'm just gonna work this row behind the camera, and then I'll get back to you to show you what we do next. I completed the wrong side row, row number 73. I thought it would be a good time for a little measurement, so we will see how much our piece it's measuring. So I go here around 17 centimeters. I hope you can see. I'm measuring from 0 to 17. So our piece measures around 17 centimeters, and we are nearly finished. All we need to do now, next row is row number 74. I'm just going to cast on 3 stitches at the beginning of the row. I'm going to do this using a crochet, 3.5 millimeters, same size like my needles. So I'm just going to cast on 3 stitches at the beginning of my row, my working row. So I'm just twisting my yarn into a little loop here. You can use any method you prefer. This is just the method that I use. I have my crochet through that loop, and I'm just going to make a slip stitch over my needle, and that's 1 stitch. placing the yarn behind the needle, I'm just going to do my second stitch, and the loop I have on my crochet now is going to be my third stitch. There we go. And now I'm going to have 30 stitches on this side before I get to the cable. So I'm just going to knit them as usual for the garter stitch. This time I'm going to knit the first stitch as well, because it's just newly formed, just created it, so I like to give a little bit of a body, to say it like that. So I'm just going to knit the first one as well. One, so they get included in the pattern. 2 and 3. This was my third newly formed stitch, and then I'll continue by knitting all the others as usual. I'm going to knit all of it, including the cable stitches and the last stitch, so just knit all the stitches. Row 74 now complete. I'm going to turn the work around on the wrong side to continue with row number 75, which will be the last row of this piece. And before I continue work, I'm going to do exactly the same like I've done on this end, and I'm just going to add 3 more stitches, or cast on 3 more stitches at the beginning of the row. So once again I make a loop, place my crochet through the loop, give it a little bit of attention for the yarn, and then do a slip stitch with the yarn over my needle. 1 and 2, and my third stitch will be the loop I have on the crochet hook. There we go, 3 more stitches. So after adding these 3, we now have 66 stitches altogether, 30 stitches on this side of the cable and another 30 on the other side of the cable. And this is row number 75, and it's a wrong side row. We're just going to work it as a typical wrong side row. The only difference is this time I'm going to knit again the first stitch, the one that I just added. So I'm just going to knit all 30 of them until I reach my cable, and continue to knit. It's just a typical wrong side row where we knit all the way to the cable, and then purl 6 here for the cable, and then continue by knitting the rest of them. So I'm just going to complete my row. Row 75 now completed, and this was the last row for this section of the work. So this is our piece. I'm going to make a little measurement once more, and we now have 18 centimeters. So this piece is measuring 18 centimeters, the same like the other one. Now, following the same instructions, you can make a second piece, because both leg pieces are exactly the same. So following exact same instruction, we make a second one. I already done that, so I have 2 pieces now. And before I do anything else, I'm just going to join these 2 pieces together. So with both of them facing right side, yeah, the cable tells us that this is the right side. With both of them facing right side, I'm going to transfer these on hold stitches, but I had them previously on hold. So as you noticed, on my second piece I haven't cut the yarn, so my yarn is still attached because I'm going to work with it. So in both cases, the next row is a right side row. So I'm going to transfer these here. So this is where my yarn is attached. This is where I'm going to start my first row of this part, and I'm going to attach the stitches. So I will just move the stitches across, and we have 66 stitches on this side plus another 66 on the other side, so a total of 132 stitches. So just move them across and they will form one big long row, so one big piece. If your needle is exactly the same size, you will be able to work them straight from your spare needles in my case, but I just prefer to move them all across. Careful not to twist them around. We're not going to be working in the round. I prefer to work flat and then sew my work at the end. I'm going to have a back row. I'm going to try to make an invisible join. So I'm just going to continue to transfer all my stitches. All stitches transferred. It's now time for the main body work. So we're just going to go working upwards, and I'm going to reset my stitch counter because it only goes up to 100, and then it might make it a little bit confusing. So I'm going to start again with row number 1, and it's a right side row because last time we was working still on the right side, and we're just gonna work as usual. No more increases this time. I'm just gonna work this part straight until the whole work will be measuring around 36 centimeters. So the main body will be measuring 18 centimeters plus the 18 for the legs, around 36, 37 centimeters. It depends, sometimes tension is not perfectly even all the way across. Just one thing to remember, the cables are staying, so we are continuing with the cables all the way up. It will be on the sides of the main body. So I just started knitting. I'll continue with the garter stitch. From now on is no more increases. I'm just gonna work all knitted stitches. So I'm going all the way around. I'm gonna show you how to work this bit. So I'm just gonna knit this part. I have completed the first section, and now I have reached the join area. What I like to do here, I'm just gonna make a little knot between the two yarns. So this tail from my on-hold stitches and my, let's so-called working yarn or active yarn if you want. So I'm just gonna make a little knot here to stop it from going very loose constantly, and we will sort that part out at the end, but just for now, so I can continue work, I've just made a little knot between the two yarns here. There might be probably more elegant ways of doing this, but I do not know. And I will continue to knit. One thing to be careful here is to make sure these stitches are not twisted in any way. It's not a circular knitting, but still this joint piece, we have to make sure it's facing the right way. Otherwise you will have a big twist in your work. So I'm just going to continue to knit like my row never actually ended. After a few rows it will be no difference here. It will all become one giant row. And now I'm going to continue to knit. Here is the part where we made the transition. Here I'm going to sew it together at the end of the work, so this gap will no longer be visible. It just looks like a little gap at the moment, but when we do the finishing touches, that will no longer be visible there. So I'm going to continue to knit both pieces on the right side. I will finish the row and get back to you. I have reached the end of my row here, last two stitches. I'm just going to knit them as usual, and there we go. Now, rather than joining together to knit in the circular, I prefer to turn my work around and work flat with the wrong side and right side rows. So turning around, I'm gonna call this one row number 2 because this is the main piece, the main body piece, and this is a wrong side row. Yes, so nothing different than what we already did or worked. It's just that now I have 132 stitches on the needles, so we're gonna work, and now I'm just gonna knit. So continue with the garter stitch until I reach my cable, first cable here. I'm gonna do purl 6 when I reach. If it's helpful for you, you can place the markers, so you can continue to use the markers. I remove them because they're a little bit in my way, and I just count stitches. I always count anyway, so yeah, I'll just continue to knit these 30 stitches until I reach my cable. Then I'm gonna purl 6, then continue to knit all the way across to my next cable on the wrong side. I'm gonna purl another 6 and then finish off the row. I have finished the row. I'm going to turn my work around, and next will be the row number 3 of this part, but it might be row number 3 for this main body part, but it's already a 6th row for the cable twist, because as I said, the cable goes ahead, so we're gonna try not to disturb the pattern of the cable. And this row number 3 of the main body piece, it's actually a 6th row for the cable, so on this row we're gonna have a cable twist. So we work as usual until cable is reached, and then there'll be a cable twist. Slip the first one, knit all the stitches until you reach the cable, do the cable twist, then knit in the remaining stitches until you reach the second cable, and so on. I have reached my cable. I've done the twisting already, and now I'm just going to knit my 6 stitches, just to show you that the cable pattern didn't actually been disturbed at all by all the... Right, I've done it. I'm going to continue to knit. This will be the front, so this part here between the cables will be the front of our piece, so the tummy bit, and the joining together will be on the back of the work. So I'm just going to continue to knit. We got 60 stitches here between the 2 cables. I'm going to continue until I reach my next cable, so just knit all the stitches. I have reached the second cable. I have done the twist like I showed you before. I just released the stitches and then I changed the order of them on the needle. I'm just gonna knit them. I have my second, third, fourth, 5th and 6th. Okay, this is the twist done, and I'm going to continue to knit until the end of my row, and then I'll be turning around as usual. I have completed the row. I finished here. This is how work looks like so far. So we can see here where we joined and it's starting to form, and then it's going up. From this point I'm going to work behind the camera. So we just completed row number 3, and I'm aiming for a total measurement of the piece once the main body is finished of 37 centimeters, and I've calculated for that we need about 75 rows based on my tension, the way I work. So I'm going to continue knitting for another 70 rows, so 70 rows, and then I'll come back with a little measurement. So I'll meet you back on row number 73. Just continue as it is. We're going to work straight, no increases, no decreases, 132 stitches. Just keep going. One thing to remember is the cable twist. So the cable goes ahead, and every 6th row we're gonna have a cable twist. So we just done one, and this is row number 3. The next one will be on 3 plus 6, so we'll be on row number 9. Then the next one will be on row number 15, row number 21, row number 27, and so on until you completed 70 rows in the pattern. So I'll meet you back on row 73. I believe you're gonna have a cable twist on row 70, so it will be the middle of the pattern, so we can go ahead with the rest of the work when you're gonna have more shaping after this. So I'll leave you to work now and meet you in 70 rows time.